ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. So we are meeting after a long time. The last Sunday class was on the Great Gospel, and today we'll continue from where we last uh, discussed. What we last discussed was the sadhaka bhava, the sadhana part of Sri Ramakrishna's life. As you all know, we are following the text Sri Ramakrishna the Great Master, which is the English translation of Sri Sri Ramakrishna Leela Prasanga, which is a very authentic biography of Sri Ramakrishna written by one of his direct disciples, Swami Sarvasthananda, and who, for the first time in any biography of any spiritual sadhaka or spiritual personality, especially prophet or avatara, has recorded the sadhanas in intimate detail, which is not there in all the other biographies of Sri Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Somehow they will mention in brief what type of sadhana, who were their gurus, if they had gurus, and the type of sadhana they did. But that will be a very small portion of their biography. Whereas most of the biographies will describe in great detail how the avatara looked after his or her disciples and took care of the disciples. So the Guru Bhav, the avatara as a guru, is more prominent in other avatars or their world mission, what they did, how they changed societies, how they changed the devotees, how they changed the people, and how they continue to inspire people. But Swami Shardananji, as I mentioned again and again, is unique. His biography, Sri Sri Ramakrishna Leela Prasang, is unique because he discusses two things in great detail. One is the human aspect of the master, which other incarnations they think an incarnation is fully divine, which is true in a way because they are not born of samskaras or born because of their karmas of this life or previous life. The karmas of the previous lives, they are not born because of that. They assume a human body to raise human beings, raise their spiritual level. So, unlike other human jivas or human beings, they are not born because of their karma. They are not forced to be born. They are born because they want to redeem humankind, show them the way in a particular age. Suited to the needs of the age, they incarnate. So that is why it is known as avatarana. So they come down a level. So when they come down from the divine to the human level, obviously Swami Shardananji says they have to have some human aspects as well. Why should we try to hide them? If divine comes down and becomes a human for our sake, what is wrong in that? That is a great advantage because humans can relate to other human beings. You can't relate to a divine person only. You may relate to him, you may pray for his grace, you may pray for protecting you and all those things. But you can't have that kind of personality as a role model. So if you want to have a role model, it has to be a human role model. So that is why the Swami Shardanji says they deliberately, that is Sri Ramakrishna, Sri Ma Sharda, even Swami Vivekananda, if you see, there is an intensely human side to their life. They are like us. They lived with human beings. They lived with their disciples. They lived with agnostics. They lived with atheists. They lived with strange kind of people who even opposed them. And in some cases, they lived with people who killed them. So they faced all the human problems that any other human being faces. And there is a reason, according to Shardanji, because then they can be imitated. You can imitate the human side of an avatar, not the divine side. We don't have that divinity, or we cannot expect to have that divinity with which we can redeem other people. We can take care of ourselves. The avatars, as Sri Ramakrishna used to say, the great saints are like small boats. They can carry some 20 people, 10 people, or even less. But Shardananji says avatars are like big ships. They can ferry lot of people along with them. So that is the difference. That's the only difference. But they have a human side. Obviously, they have a human side. And that human side has to be highlighted in the biography to enable a ordinary jiva to see how avatars or spiritual people conduct themselves in their lives. In the morning, there was a class, online class on the Gospel of Holy Mother for our Scotland devotees. So they were asking, because in Holy Mother's life, if you see, compared to the great master, there are very few divine incidents. Divine in the sense, manifestation of the divine power like bhava, samadhi, and all those things. And Holy Mother apparently led a very, very intensely human life compared to Sri Ramakrishna. Because if you see, she was doing the same thing which a normal rural housewife will do when her husband was alive, and then she lived exactly in a very orthodox way, cooking and feeding people day after day, doing the same routine work. And then apparently people thought, what can we learn from this life? Unless unless and until the divine manifestation is seen, which of course Holy Mother did show sometimes. Sometimes she showed to some intimate disciples. They had wonderful visions of Holy Mother as Jagaddatri, as Durga. Many devotees who were very intimate and close had a glimpse of Holy Mother in these different uh, divine aspects. But most of the time, she used to just behave like a very, very ordinary human being. So, the one of the reasons why the human side is emphasized is because we can learn from the human side more of the avatara more than the divine side. But then the second part, which we are discussing now, is the sadhana part. So, as I said, most of the avatars, their sadhana part, just in Jesus Christ's life, you will find it mentioned that he went on the top of a hill and he meditated for several hours and several days and he was seen missing. I mean, that aspect of his life has not been discussed in great detail, what he did, because perhaps there was nobody to record it. Or maybe the disciples later on thought it is the redemption and the great miracles that Jesus performed were more important than all this sadhana. We can't show our Lord or our Son of God, as they called him, to be struggling like an ordinary sadhaka. That will belittle him. That's perhaps one of the reasons. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Krishna, the divine aspect is glorified so much that people think they are only divine. They are definitely divine, they have a divine aspect. As I said, they are like the big ship which can carry many passengers, unlike a small boat. Or at saints, at the most, can be like a small boat, helping a few souls to realize God. But these avatars come with a lot of power. That's the only difference in degree. But as Swami Sardanji says, we have to know why did Sri Ramakrishna have to perform all these sadhanas and the different paths that he followed. It was not just to harmonize everyone. That was one of the reasons. That was a byproduct. that Brahmos and the Vaishnavas, the Shaivats who were quarreling, they stopped quarreling. But an avatara doesn't come only to stop quarrels. That is not the main mission. The main mission is to infuse life into these old practices. Practices which have, over a period of time, been diluted so much. For example, the Gayatri Mantra. It's such a great discovery made by a rishi in the Vedas. And once upon a time, it was the main sadhana on the whole India, as Sri Ramakrishna said, the whole essence of Vedas is in the Gayatri, and the essence of Gayatri is in Om. So these great discoveries rishis made, they were to be taken very, very seriously. But just see how the ritual of Gayatri Mantra now is reduced to a very simple ritual which is known as Upanayana, which we do where what we feed, how many guests we invite, how much we spend, and who does his Gayatri or Upanayana in a very grand way, which uh, hall you book, and all those things have become so important that it has become reduced, just like our marriages, it has been reduced to a social ritual. We have to do it because we are, or either we are because we are Brahmins. Earlier, it was compulsory for everyone, for girls, for boys, for all castes. But Swami Vivekananda could not trace when was the period when it was restricted, when it became only the privilege of Brahmins to take Upanayana or the higher castes. That is a historical fact. But what I'm saying is, over a period of time, as Swami Shardanji discusses here, the very sadhana, which is the heart or the mainstay of any sect, of any path discovered by a great saint like Vaishnavas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shaiva saints, so many saints, they discovered different paths to reach God. So, as time passed, these paths became just rituals. They lost all their uh, core values. So, one of the reasons why Sri Ramakrishna practiced, as Holy Mother rightly said, it's not just to bring a harmony, stop quarreling. That you can't stop. People at a lower level, they will always quarrel. If they don't understand the true core principles of their own path, they will definitely quarrel with others. So, that is not the main reason why an avatara practices different sadhanas. He tries to infuse some kind of power. It charges these different paths and tries to show to the entire world that these paths are valid paths. They were valid when it was founded. Over a period of time, people reduced it, trivialized it to a mere ritual. But if you practice it properly, you will find that it will yield the same results as the original sadhana. So his method of sadhana, Swami Shardanji says in point number 9, the heading number 9 is his method of sadhana was due to his own eccentricity. Some scholars said he was eccentric. Even Mathur Babu felt. That is why he tried to cure Sri Ramakrishna. He said he is really crazy. He is offering something to mother, and then the mother in a vision tells him to eat the food that he has offered. So even before finishing the offering, he takes the prasad even before it has become prasad. And he said, "Oh mother, you want me to eat first?" So he will eat. Seeing all these things, Mathur Babu is also shocked. He said, "This is unorthodox. Nobody does that. Before offering, you don't eat prasad." So this was considered to be some kind of eccentricity. So why it is not an eccentricity? What is the objection and what is the answer? Sri Ramakrishna is now, Swami Shardanji is trying to explain. He says somebody like Hriday was very much upset because for him every coin was important. He was money minded. And he saw Sri Ramakrishna saying Taka Mati. We discussed this in the previous class. Taka Mati Mati Taka. For hours together, he used to consider that. And maybe whatever little coins were there, he used to throw into the Ganga along with mud. It's written there. He says he used to take clods of mud standing on the bank of Ganga and again start throwing, then everybody will call this person sadhaka crazy. So Swami Shardan is trying to defend him, defend this practice, why these things are necessary and why Sri Ramakrishna did it in the first place. He was not eccentric. So he says, then there was the other incident which we discussed last time, that after the poor people who were fed, that was one important activity of the Dakshineshwar temple. Anybody and everybody, beggars used to come. Nobody went away hungry. They were given whatever food was cooked, it was distributed, and they used to eat on leaf plates. And in those days, there were some people designated by caste, which is unfortunate, to pick up these leaf plates. People from good families would not do that, Brahmins especially. But to remove the idea that a Brahmin is superior to other human beings, Sri Ramakrishna used to collect all the plates. He used to wait till everybody had their prasad. And before the people who were employed for that, he would himself collect all the plates and the leaf plates and take it to dispose them, which was not done by people who belong to the priestly class. So this throwing, saying taka mati mati taka clay and throwing all these things, why did he perform these actions again and again? Just to show that when you have an idea, whether it is renunciation, whether it is practicing of spiritual disciplines, many people say we don't have to do it physically, we can just mentally do everything. For everything, they will say, there is mental puja. I don't do physical puja, I do only mental puja. Why should I do? I can do it mentally. So he could also have done it because his mind was at such a high level. He could do mental puja, he could do mental seva, he could do everything mentally. He could convince his mind that taka is mat. He did not have to go and throw it, physically do any action. But so Shardananji says why he did it not for himself, for other people, common people who have to repeatedly practice. If they want to practice a particular virtue, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, mantra repetition, it cannot be done in one day. If that was the case, then you just repeat once and then you should realize the benefit of repeating the mantra. But we don't. We have to do it again and again till it becomes a habit. As he says, till it becomes a part of our nervous system. The idea has to be nervously associated. That taka and mati, or money and clod of earth, have the same value to make his nervous system understand. He literally threw it into the Ganga. For others, it seemed to be very eccentric behavior. But it was very scientific because he was not convinced. Till you physically give it up, Sri Ramakrishna wanted to show that external disciplines have to be practiced like this. Not that you have to go and throw coins, but for him, he showed that every idea that he wanted to, which he knew is good, he knew is important for his spiritual progress, he used to literally practice it. So he says, we think in one direction. Thakur used to say, Man mukh ek kara. Make your thought, your mind, and your action one. Only then you can get success in any field, including spiritual practices. So he says the mind thinks in one direction and the body acts in a different way because it has been trained to do trained to work in a different way. So many people said, why did Swamiji follow? In the West, if you see, when he came to England, whenever the collection was made, of course, it was not for him. It was for his Indian work, to buy some land, to start a mart, and to build a temple. He was collecting. Sometimes he used to say that, how much have you collected? He was even keen to know that. But following his master, it is said that the moment he could not catch, we can't hold money. He used to just take it in a hat and throw it either to Josephine MacLeod or Goodwin. They had to count the money, they had to keep account, they have to spend, and they have to save, and they have to send the money to India for whatever work or to start the magazine and many things he used to collect. Not that he did not touch, but you see, he had to follow his master in this respect. He himself could not touch. Similarly, he says, in this path, when they are so sensitive, when they want 100% perfection, then there should be this total involvement, and all the actions which you think, as you think, you speak and you act. Man means mind. The mind may think, I am free from the attachment to these things, but these incarnations show that it's not only in the mind, but in action also they have to do it. So a person who is so insensitive to these things, he will not appreciate. And he will call Thakur, or he will call Sri Ramakrishna an eccentric person. That is what Hriday also did. He said, you don't touch money, it's fine. But why are you throwing? In fact, once he criticized Sri Ramakrishna and shouted at him, see, you are throwing this coin in the Ganga, Lakshmi will be angry on you. Lakshmi Devi. So Thakur, like a child, simply believed and then went to the Divine Mother, who said, no, 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 what you did is correct. Don't listen to that fool. For Hriday, Lakshmi meant only wealth. That is what 90% of us do. We worship Lakshmi. We feel that if we don't worship her, we will not earn wealth. But there is a deeper significance behind all these pujas. But anyway, it was difficult for the people around him, and naturally they criticized him. And he wanted to show that these actions are not important. It's only thinking higher thoughts that is important. So he says a person deceives himself. So to prevent this self-deception, he performed every action and tried to convert every thought into and nervously associate with the body. So whatever you do, whatever is worthy of God realization, has to be practiced. That is one of the reasons. Then he comes to a discussion, very important. What was Master's mode of worship? This was before the disciples came. I'm talking of the sadhana portion. He is discussing elaborate sadhana. All these things have been recorded by Swami Sardanji with the help of people who had seen him doing sadhana, because they never saw. None of the direct disciples have seen him in his sadhana period. Only when the Guru Bhav starts, the third volume starts, you will find slowly Master Masha, Swamiji and all coming to him. That too, when he went on the top of the Kuti building in Dakshineshwar and said, Mother, you said there will be a lot of disciples coming who will carry this advice forward, carry this spiritual tradition forward, and where are they? Nobody is coming except for the few people, his own relatives and the temple authorities. Mathur Babu had died, even others had died. Rani Rasmani had passed away. So the people who really appreciated were very few. So Sri Ramakrishna was restless because he saw in a vision that these people will come to you. They will carry forward your message. So he used to go on the top of the kuti every day and they'll say, Kere kotha achish, where are you? Where are the people which mother showed me? Then slowly, one after another, people started coming. So this record of what he did as sadhana, as spiritual practice, what was his mode of worship, how did he worship, how did he behave, how did he talk, as Arjuna is asking Krishna in the second chapter, how does a Sthita Prajna walk? He's curious to know. How does he walk? How does he talk? Because I can relate only to that. That is why we find we are more interested in the reminiscences. How Swami Vivekananda, when he came to England or when he went to America, how did he behave? How did he talk to people? We are more interested because that is our level at which we understand things. Because we are dealing it day and night. We wish to know how did he treat his disciples? How did he treat his friends? more importantly, how did he treat his detractors? Somebody who did not support him, or maybe even betrayed him, like Sturdy, who were so intimate, but they betrayed him. So, how did he deal with them? Because all these situations human beings face. So, we have to know, it's not enough to know what sadhana they did, what is the divine aspect, the grace of Sri Ramakrishna. They are important. But how did they live their life is equally important. That is why Shardananji says, with great difficulty, most of the source information was from Hriday. He had to trust him. Of course, he verified it because sometimes Hriday would not remember properly or maybe he would exaggerate. So he would ask some other people and who had seen Sri Ramakrishna doing sadhana. They were still alive, and he tried to verify that information. And many things, many times Sri Ramakrishna himself in the gospel he says that how we used to perform sadhana, how we used to do all the spiritual practices, what all the difficulties that he encountered. So there are many things mentioned in the biography which came as a second-hand information or information given by others other than Swami Sardananji and the direct disciples, who were the only witness. So if it is reasonable, if it tallies with the scripture, that was the one criteria Swami Vivekananda had told Sardananji. First, he said, don't include any miracle, even if it is true. There were so many small and big miracles which happened. He says people will just run after that. So, first thing Swami Vivekananda said, they are not important. What is more important? How he transformed human beings. How he transformed a Girish Ghosh from Girish Ghosh to a saint. How did he transform the samskaras of a human being, which is much more difficult than doing some miracle, material miracle. So, first first instruction Swami Sardananji got was don't avoid miracles, however true they may be. Second thing, he was told that you have to be truthful in the sense, or he himself said, the classify everything into first and information like gospel. Gospel is what M heard himself, except for one conversation which he has given in the appendix of the 5-volume Bengali gospel, which was not heard by him but told to him by a very authentic disciple. That is given in the appendix. That also is not given in the main text. Whatever he has himself heard and recorded during the lifetime, on the spot, and then of course he has elaborated, but it was recorded. Day is there, who were the persons, everything has been recorded, maybe in shorthand, but it was recorded. And then he elaborated it in the gospel. So that is known as first-hand evidence. So as far as possible, Swami Sardanji says, all the small and big and spiritual experiences that Sri Ramakrishna, everything that has been recorded, as far as possible, it is first-hand information. If we could not do, then there is a second class of evidence where somebody else has observed it, but that evidence has to be verified. At least a few, like we have witnesses in court, you should have some kind of witness, otherwise you can't prove anything. So he looked for witnesses, he looked for some people who would corroborate what Hriday has recorded or Hriday has told him. And then if he found that this is according to our Shastras, our scriptures, because Sri Ramakrishna would not do anything which is not sanctioned by scriptures. He could not take a false step. So Swami Sardananji says all the experiences that when somebody asks, once he disclosed by mistake, he did not want to tell. When again and again he was pressurized, how did you know that this kind of experience happens if you perform this sadhana? Then he just to dismiss that person, he was an intimate disciple who was asking this. To remove his curiosity, he said, and after that nobody dared to ask him. He said, every experience or every spiritual experience that I have recorded in the gospel, I have myself experienced it. That means Nirvikalpa Samadhi, to all the different visions that Sri Ramakrishna had by his grace, by Mother's grace. It is more Mother's grace than Sri Ramakrishna, of course, is always present in a subtle form. But he attributed it to the Holy Mother. Because you see, after Holy Mother passed away, he could not write a single line of the Great Master. It was incomplete. Everybody requested him to complete the last portion. Of course, now it is published as Antya Leela, based on his diary. Somebody else, Swami Prabhananji, has tried to write the Antya Leela of Sri Ramakrishna. But as it has happened in the case of almost all the great incarnations, including Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, somehow the biographers did not write the last portion of their life. Because one of the reasons given is the Leela, Antya Leela means the Leela ends here. Whereas the great incarnations, the followers of the incarnations believe their Leela never ends. They are as eternal as the Avatara himself. So if you say this is Anta Leela or this is the last Leela, that means he will not perform Leela. So in a subtle body, Sri Ramakrishna continues to live, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continues to live. That is a firm faith. Wherever you sing his glory or wherever you follow his teachings, Sri Chaitanya is present there. That is what the Vaishnavas believe. That is what everyone believes. Each one of the followers believe that in a subtle form, and Swami Vivekananda himself has said, in this Ramakrishna form, of course it has a limit. It's a certain period after which new incarnations have to come. But he said at least for 1500 years, you can still see the Ramakrishna form. Though it is in a subtle way, it is equally real. Only thing the form doesn't have a physical body. But even that, with his grace and with his wish, he can materialize. That is what he showed in Dhaka when Vijay Krishna Goswami literally felt Sri Ramakrishna touching him. So anyway, this is what the sadhakas, the sadhaka bhava tries to express, that to record the sadhana experience of an incarnation through, as far as possible, through first-hand evidence. But because he was not present, he took the help of Hriday. And many times, that is one of the greatest body of evidence, is their own words. Like there are three wonderful publications. One is Sri Ramakrishna on himself. That was compiled by one great scholar in his Institute of Culture. There's a book, Sri Ramakrishna on himself. So whatever he has uttered from all the gospel and other places, it has been compiled. If Sri Ramakrishna had said something about his childhood, that has been recorded. What he said about middle age or his boyhood days, his youth, about his sadhana, about his different phases of his life, whatever words he has uttered, that is first evidence, because that Sri Ramakrishna himself has confessed or not confessed, has expressed. So that evidence also has been considered here. As similarly, we have Swami Vivekananda on himself. So letters are the most important material. In the letters, if he says, I had been there, I had been here, so they are considered to be, nobody has to see it, because the person who has undergone that experience himself writes. So most of the time, it is not the recorded talks of Sri Ramakrishna or of Swami Vivekananda that are considered to be first-hand evidence. Of course, Goodwin recorded very faithfully, and most of the Jnana Yoga, the four yogas, and the important works were seen by Swami Vivekananda himself before they were published. So that is also a kind of first-hand evidence. But letters are infallible. So that is why now the new edition of four letters, which is a wonderful treasure, it has been published recently. They have gone back. They have taken so much of done so much of hard work. They've gone back to the original letters because most of them are still there, preserved very nicely. And for some reason, some portions were omitted, either because the person who was uh, referred to in the letter was alive. So it's not good to mention his name. But now they have all passed away. So they have tried to bring back, and every word that was written by Swamiji has been reproduced. Wherever it is illegible, they have put in small brackets that perhaps Swamiji wanted to mean this. So these letters can be considered as first evidence, first-hand evidence. Because you can't say Swami Vivekananda, it's his handwriting, it's his letter which he himself wrote. That is why in one letter he says, because his utterances might have been, while they were being recorded and transcribed, there would have been slight change in the language, or the author must have taken some freedom to change it. And there's no way to, because that sound has gone. Swami Vivekananda has spoken. Whoever has recorded, if he has recorded correctly, it has come down to us. Most of them are correct because Goodwin was a very expert in what he had a speed of 200 words per minute. So he could record in shorthand very perfectly. So that's why his works are charged with power. But if you see, Swami Vivekananda says, he doesn't say whoever listens to that. He says whoever reads this letter. In one particular letter, I think he wrote it with full of uh, spiritual power he was feeling. So he says, I can't write anymore. He was almost going into a trance. He says, I can't write anymore. He's writing to his Guru Bhais. And he says, whoever reads this letter will get my power. See, it is there in one of the letters, the 4 volumes, if you see. Why did he say that? Because when he wrote that letter, he was in a high state of mind. And it is being expressed by the author of that, I mean, by Swami Vivekananda himself in paper, on paper, and written. It has 100% authenticity. So that is why the power which was there in his mind, in his thought, has been transmitted as it is. It's not been diluted by the recorder or the faulty recording. Maybe the recording can be faulty, but if somebody has written it, it has a deep value. So that is why they say when we joined the monastery, everybody, even earlier, it was a basic requirement for Diksha. Before Diksha, they'll ask, have you read Swamiji's letters? Ranganathan used to say, Colombo to Almora, at least for Indians, he used to say, have you read that? So otherwise, he would not give initiation. That means they were so serious that you should have something, some original work of the person who is your Ishta or who is connected to your Ishta. If you don't have some connection by way of access to the original thoughts, original words, it is not going to be of much use. So, similarly, here, whatever has been recorded by Master Masha in the Gospel, where Sri Ramakrishna used to often say, this is what I used to do, this is what I felt, this is how I prayed. Then he is also many other places, not just the Gospel. If you see Akhandanandji has given his reminiscences. One day he called Gangadhar, as his name was. He says, how do you pray? Then he was just expressing. He said, no, that is not how you should pray. Then he literally showed Akhandanandji how one should pray with all the actions. As if a child is crying, Akhandanandji was shocked to see Sri Ramakrishna behave like a small child. He said, if you want the prayer to be answered, you have to pray like this. So Akhandanandji says, I was so much impressed by Sri Ramakrishna taught us so many things. He taught us how to pray, what words to use, how one should, what should be one's thought when one prays. So here, his mode of worship, which being described here, has been beautifully recorded by by Swami Sardananji, either using Hriday's version or whoever has seen it, or verified by Sri Ramakrishna himself, because many places in the Gospel he mentions this. He says, we have already mentioned after Ram Kumar's death, he used to concentrate more intensely. Earlier he was just helping his elder brother to do puja. But now he was the only pujari. Hriday helped him because Sri Ramakrishna told Mathur Babu that there is one condition. I can't look after the jewels of Ma Kali, the Bhavatarani. You have put so many jewels, my mind will be on the jewels. I can't take care who is coming, some robbers may come and rob it. So he says, I can't do puja. So Mathur Babu said, okay, you don't have to worry. You will not be held responsible. I will ask Hriday. And he was very happy because that is the main portion which attracts us. How nicely we decorate Ma Kali. Sri Ramakrishna was quite opposite. He says, he refused. He said, this is very costly. These ornaments, maybe it is showing your bhakti, Rajasic bhakti, that I have decorated Ma with this. Yeah. But these instruments are nothing but clod of earth for the Divine Mother who owns the whole universe. She doesn't bother for your jewelry. And I am not going to look after that because I am more interested in the Chinmayi Ma, the mother who is full of consciousness. This gross jewelry, if somebody takes care, like Hriday readily agreed, he said, that responsibility is not mine. I will worship according to my own tendencies, my own feeling for Divine Mother. So, after Ramkumar's death, he took worship seriously. Before that, he was just doing what his brother told him. Maybe prepare a garland, prepare this, do this. All the help that is needed for worship is to do. And he was left to his own spiritual practice. But now, since he was given responsibility, he would worship the way he felt should be, mother should be worshipped. So what he did was, he there is some description here now. So whatever he considered necessary for attaining her vision, that was the only way he worshipped. Mathur Babu or anybody or anyone criticizing him, he did not care. In fact, Mathur Babu came and he saw that he is breaking all the rules. He is worshipping in his own way. But he somehow, when he saw him, saw his deep devotion and saw the wonderful spiritual fervor with which he worshipped, he warned all the priests and he said, never again you should complain about Bhattacharya, that is Sri Ramakrishna. He said, never bring any complaint to me. Let him worship however. So till Mathur Babu was there, nobody disturbed him. And after that, of course, he himself gave up the worship and he could not worship anymore. He was more interested in other things. He gave up ritualistic worship. So Swami Sardananji says, whatever he considered necessary for attaining her vision, he performed with eagerness and wholehearted faith. We heard from the master. Now they heard Swami Sardananji is giving the first-hand evidence that after regular service, means he used to do as far as possible, the Nitya Puja, regular service was completed, he would continue his worship of her by singing devotional songs of Ram Prasad and other mystics. Because he had nothing else to do. Other priests would do and then go to their family and look after the family affairs. For them, priestcraft was just a job. Whereas for him, it was a full-time thing. He was not there as a paid priest. So he would continue by singing songs. Even after the time for worship was over, nobody could tell him that now you should do this, now you should do that. He would not be regulated by time. He worshipped Mother as he wanted. Then he said his heart was filled with emotion as he sang those songs with exuberant devotion. He used to think, he himself said, he said, I thought, I was telling Mother, Divine Mother, Ram Prasad and other devotees had the vision of Divine Mother. One can definitely see her. Because if I look into history, they have seen, otherwise, they would not write these poems. And so many saints have seen her. So, why can't I? So, that is how he worshipped. That was his attitude. Said, I'm doing all this puja and all, but why am I not able to see it? He would often exclaim piteously, Mother, you showed yourself to Ram Prasad. Why won't you show yourself to me? I don't want wealth, I don't want friends, family, or objects of enjoyment. Please reveal yourself to me. He knew these things will distract him. So he said, I have just followed their footsteps. They also did not care for their jobs, they did not care for anything, but they yearned for your vision and you showed yourself to them. So why are you not doing? I don't care for all these things. Thus he would pray as tears streamed from his eyes and flooded his chest. This would somehow lighten the burden of his heart. Then, prompted by burning faith and heartened with hope, he would again try to please goddess with songs. So that is one way. If you see the bhakti tradition of Ramanuja, there are many ways. By serving, by feeding, by singing, by dancing. There are so many ways a human mind can uh, try to improve his devotion. There are hundreds of ways. So, one is singing songs with deep spiritual meaning. That is one sadhana. When you can't do just japa, there are other supporting sadhanas which you can do, or supporting uh, disciplines which you have to practice. So if he was not worshipping, he would sing. If he was not singing, he was. But his whole life was centered around the Divine Mother. Thus, the master spent his days in worship alternately, one after another. If it is not worship, it is meditation. If it is not meditation, where he used to go into solitude, suddenly, as Hriday used to mention, suddenly would see Mama has disappeared. Where he has gone, nobody knew. And since most of the people were afraid to go to that, the banyan tree and the rich forest that was there, it was practically like a forest. And there were jackals and sometimes snakes. So hardly people would go and disturb him. So that was a solid place of solitude where he used to go. So for meditation, you chose that place. For singing, he could sing in the temple without even bothering what the manager or what others will think, because he was given that freedom. By the grace of the Divine Mother, Mathur Babu had given a standing injunction that whatever he does, whatever mistakes according to you he makes in this puja, you don't have to bother. Not a single complaint should come to me, because he was tired. People used to go on, very jealous people used to go and complain against him. So, Mathur Babu, at least when he was alive, he was allowed to do puja. And Swami Sardanji says, by this process, he was growing more and more intimate with the Divine Mother. Then, from that point on, he began spending more time performing worship and serving the goddess than was regularly allotted. That means when a puja duty is allotted, there are few hours. You have to work from this time to this time, then close the door, then go, then do your worldly duties. But for Sri Ramakrishna, there was no other duty. He did not take it as a job. So he used to spend more time. Whatever he felt on Monday, he may feel like giving a big garland, so he'll make that. Sometimes he placed a flower on his own head according to the prescribed rule. Then he would meditate for 2 hours, sitting still as a log in the shrine. So that is what disturbed the other people. They thought that he has gone mad, because nobody does that. Everybody follows a routine, does every puja, bija, everything mechanically and goes away. Everybody is more bothered. They do just as it has to be done. A priest is supposed to do certain rituals in a particular time, but here the puja was different. After offering food to the goddess, he might sometimes spend a long time thinking that the mother was literally eating the food. On some mornings, he would spend several hours picking flowers, making garlands, decorating the goddess, or for a long period, he would remain engaged in performing Vesper service. Sometimes the arti would go on and on and on, he would not stop. So, he became so absorbed and overwhelmed with devotion that he would be unaware that the time for the Vesper service had passed. Although he had to be reminded again and again, no one could induce him to conduct Vesper service. Means he had not finished the other. They'll say that it's time for Aarti. You have to do Aarti, but he would not do. He would do at his own sweet time. Thus, the worship continued for some time. Now, Mathur's and others' concerns about the master's worship service. This is when there were so many complaints were made to Mathur Babu that he himself came. And what happened after that is worth noting. She says it is clear that the master's steadfastness, devotion, and longing attracted the attention of others in the temple compound. Not that all were attracted positively, there were many who were negative. Most of them were negative because they were employees. They had families to look after. They were just taking it as a job. And they were just bothered that Rani Rasmani has employed us, so we are just employees. So people at first ridicule a person who leaves the usual path trod by the masses and does something new. The more that person moves forward steadfastly towards his goal, however, if he sticks to what he believes is true, then slowly people start having faith. Then the people's attitude slowly become transformed into reverence. So that is what happened. In the beginning, people thought he was not doing the worship properly. This actually happened in the case of Master's activities at that time. When he continued his novel method of worship, he became an object of derision to some people of the temple, but later others became very respectful towards him. It is said that when he had observed the master performing worship, Mathur joyfully told Rani Rasmani, his mother in law, "We have got a wonderful worshipper. It seems that the goddess will be awakened very soon." Now, there is an idea that no matter who installs the image, it is the intense devotion of the devotees and the people who worship that deity that awakens. That is why we say that some temples in different parts of India, people say this is a awakened temple. Of course, it's a highly, I mean, spiritual aspirants of a very high order, they can see it, they can feel the vibrations. But for most people, they just believe that this temple or this particular deity is awakened. So, similarly, Mathur was very happy that within such a short time, in 2 generations, normally it takes centuries for the shrine or the particular temple or that particular place to become a place of pilgrimage. Like we have Tirupati and there are so many Banaras, certain shrines are there where people, even in churches, you will find that they say this is a very powerful place where if you pray, normally people go to pray for various reasons, but whatever be the reason, they feel this is an awakened deity. So also Mathur was very happy. He says the goddess will be awakened soon. In spite of people's criticism, the master never deviated from his spiritual journey. As the river always flows towards the ocean, so from this point onwards, that is, after taking the responsibility of puja, minus looking after the jewels and the jewelry and the costly things which were offered to mother, this journey was continuously flowing towards the ocean. So his mind was continually moving towards the Divine Mother, to see her in her real form, not as an image. So then the next, we'll just begin this, but we'll discuss it in the next class. The heading is Intense Longing for God Causes Changes in the Master's Body. we have known that there will be changes in the atmosphere, changes in the very vibration of the place, but changes in the body, physical body, which is of course recorded in the scriptures. We find in Christian tradition also, if they if there are cases which has happened and it has been recorded, that constantly thinking of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, the meditating on the wounds, some of the devotees, the thoughts got converted into real physical changes, and they literally started bleeding. The same place where they meditated, where they imagined that Christ was crucified and blood flowed through his hands and palms where he was nailed to the cross. So that is known as stigmata. I mean, there is so many Spanish mystics and mystics of the Christian tradition. This is recorded that it's not unnatural for physical changes to take place because of the intense thought process. Even in diseases, most of our diseases are a result of our wrong thinking. That's why they say you should never think that I will have this particular disease. Because if you constantly think, then maybe that can be uh, become part and parcel of your nervous system. So as days went by and the master's love and longing continued to increase, because of this uninterrupted current of thought towards the Divine Mother, some external signs manifested in his body. So, first is appetite, the appetite to eat food reduced, the need for sleep diminished, blood flowed continually to his chest and head. His eyes and chest turned crimson, and his eyes were often drenched with tears. So, these are the signs when the Kundalini rises, when the nervous system is more and more focused at the heart center and above, not in the lower centers, then these signs can be seen. And if you see Thakur's photo, he rarely wore in the summer. You just put a shawl on his, the body would be bare bodied. So people could see. They say they could see that the whole chest was sometimes red, eyes were red because of intense meditation. So there are many changes, and sometimes just for the curiosity of sadhakas, it's not that Sri Ramakrishna doubted that these changes are abnormal. He didn't doubt it. He knew that is part. And Bhairavi Brahmani, who was his guru, she said, no, in scriptures they say this will happen, burning sensation. Everything that has been recorded by the past experiences of all the scriptures, she knew. So, whenever there was a problem, Sri Ramakrishna, just to show to the world that this it's a scientific approach to spiritual, when spirituality or when true devotion arises, these changes may or may not come, but if it comes, the physical changes are natural. There's nothing abnormal about it. One need not be afraid. But at the same time, Sri Ramakrishna used to worry. For example, when his body started burning, even taking cold water bath would not cool down his body as a result of intense sadhana. Then Bhairavi Brahmani had to give a remedy, saying that this is because of the Mahabhava that has come, and the same thing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also experienced in his lifetime. And this is the reference, this is what the remedy they followed, the Ayurvedic physicians or whatever it is. So, all these wonderful things which have been recorded in this part of Sri Ramakrishna's life, which is Sadhaka Bhava, we will be discussing in the next class. If there are some questions, in YouTube also you can just see. Yeah.
Well, the significance of goddess Lakshmi.
Oh, goddess Lakshmi. Yeah, there are many significance. Lakshmi is normally we call her. There are so many Lakshmis because Dhana Lakshmi, Bhagya Lakshmi. So Lakshmi is not just as popularly understood, is not something to do with money or it is a lower manifestation. As I said, all Shaktis have different degrees of manifestation. If the child asks the mother toys, the mother will not give him a computer. He'll say, okay, you play with toys because that is his age to play. So if somebody asks Lakshmi and all day and night prays to Lakshmi for wealth, why will she not give? So you can't say that is the, but for such people, the significance of Lakshmi may be wealth. But for a spiritual aspirant like Ramakrishna, he would never believed in wealth. He in fact threw the coin into the Ganga. For him, Lakshmi is one who helps you, who uh, helps create a fortune, not material fortune, spiritual wealth you can acquire. So at that level, she can be a different aspect of Lakshmi. So Lakshmi is one who changes your fortune. That means Bhagya. Bhagya means your future based on your past. So she has the capacity, like all goddesses have, like Durga has, Kali has, everybody has different aspects. So to uh, to change the fortune, she is known as goddess of fortune. Now, fortune can be material fortune, academic fortune. Of course, for that, Saraswati is there. So, different aspects of human life can be achieved through these goddesses. But the main important point is, what do you consider as your fortune? If you consider spiritual wealth as your fortune, then you will ask that, and Lakshmi will give you that. Lakshmi or Saraswati or all the goddess and goddesses. Shakti is can be used in a positive way, and if you use it in a negative way, it will lead to trouble. That's all. Not that you will not get. You will get definitely what you want, but if we don't know what we should ask, then it is a problem because she will give exactly what you want. And if we do not know what we should really ask for, then that is not Lakshmi's fault. So Lakshmi can be not the only significance. Main significance is, if you to put in one word, she is the goddess of fortune. Yeah. Yeah.
Spiritual things you said, appetite, sleep, and the tears coming out. So
Yeah, yeah.
is increasing your spiritual thing. So, what is the reason or significance when we pray to God? Sometimes tears come up.
Yeah,
So,
tears. See, the thing is,
might not know. Is there any reason or significance?
no, see, the reasons can be different for different people. In Sri Ramakrishna's case, he was so obsessed with the thought of God that he could not give his mind to silly things like eating and all. So our loss of appetite and their loss of appetite is different. That much we should know, because if we are obsessed for 20 hours just meditating and thinking of God, then loss of appetite is very common. That person will forget to even eat, or he will not spend much time in eating. Even if he eats, he will eat quickly. He will not spend hours and hours in the kitchen making. Obviously, if, that is another way. Whether you have appetite or not, you will eat something just to satisfy your hunger. They say in Ayurveda, if you eat medicine, if you eat food as medicine, then you don't have to take medicine. Food should be taken as medicine, that which supports you, that which helps you to survive, not just to satisfy your hunger. So these appetite and need for sleep diminished because in his case the thing is, he thought, I should not be wasting my time. So that sleep, if it reduces in most of our life, it may be because of some thoughts that are coming and disturbing us. So that is not divine discontent. That in that case you have to remedy it. You have to find out. We have to find out why we are losing sleep. So losing sleep in the case of Sri Ramakrishna and losing sleep in our case can be totally different. So you can't. Here it happens because, as I told you, he was so obsessed with his devotion that he found little time, even Rida had to force him to eat something sometimes. That is different. That is a spiritual loss of appetite.
Is there any significance like we are doing?
No, we can't compare it with our state. Yeah, when we reach his state, then if we lose our appetite, it is fine. Otherwise, just losing appetite doesn't put us in at that level. We may lose appetite for many reasons, because of some illness or because of some, even psychological. If we are so obsessed, just as he was obsessed with mother, we can be obsessed with a problem, with a person, with a situation. That also can lead to lack of, because you are so obsessed with that anxiety, fear, that you forget that you have to eat. So any obsession also can lead to loss of it, but it depends. But in his case, it was different. He says there was an uninterrupted current of thought towards the Divine Mother. So his loss of appetite was very natural, and though it affected, that's why he said that it is only because of Hriday and other people who looked after his body, otherwise, it would have fallen long ago. Somehow he used to, with all his worldliness, that he was very good in his service of the master. So he used to see that uncle is not eating, something is wrong. He was just bothered about his health and thinking that he may not live long if he doesn't eat. So he used to go and force him to eat sometimes. That is different. But uh, its significance is, as I said, it changes from person to person. In his case, it was very significant because that led to spiritual development. Huh?
There's a question.
Yeah.
This state also for us.
Huh?
Is this state also attainable for us via sadhana?
Okay. The question somebody is asking online is his state attainable by us? I doubt if it can be attained, because he himself said, I have done 16 annas, you do one anna, that is enough. So I think even if we do 1/16th, our limit will come. So I don't think we'll reach that state, because it's when Avatara does, he does 100%. And he is happy if we do 1/10 or 1/16th of what they do. So that is the simple answer. We can't reach that state. Yeah, but Advaitins will disagree, because they will say, if, or Buddha also may disagree. He said, if I reach the state of Bodhi, that is, which made me a Buddha, you also can become Buddha. That is true. Nirvikalpa Samadhi and other things can be attained by anyone, but the different varieties of bhavas and the different spiritual attainments and the mystical experiences is unheard of in history of the, even in great saints it's not possible. Forget ordinary aspirants like us. We have to be satisfied with at least meditating on his life and message, and one day hope that some of these states which are described, not all, at least a few of those, can become intensely practical in our life. That is what. That is why there is a need of reading these books again and again, because we do not know. The more we read the Great Master and all such books, which are not incidents, they are not just to be read like a novel or any other book. They have to be meditated upon, so that we can understand how difficult spiritual life is and what we can expect, if at all we can expect something from this vast life. A few things, of course, we can attain, but not all. Okay. Bodhisattva and avatar, the question is Bodhisattva different than an avatar? That depends on what philosophy you follow. Avatara means in the Puranic age, what you call rishis is something different. But in the Puranic age, they found the discussion on Avatara is the first part. If you have the great master, please read the first part. Before even claiming or before even saying that Sri Ramakrishna was an avatara, he says, what is an avatara? What is the history of spiritual life in India? What are these avatars? There's a huge discussion. I can't discuss it in a few minutes. If you have a little patience, if you can read the introduction, the first, we have come to the second part of his life now. So many classes are there. Either watch the first class where I have discussed this, but best is you go back to the book and very clearly he has explained the difference between Mukta Purushas, then Prakriti Leena Purushas, because every system, Bodhisattvas, so many, they are totally different. They, from different perspectives, they reach different spiritual heights. So the concept of avatara is unique to Hinduism, though other religions may use a different word, but it is not the same because the system paradigm changes, the way of sadhana, the goal to be attained, everything changes. So for an Advaitin, there is no question of avatara. He is like another jiva who is far superior, far more talented, far more. So everybody is, in a way, can be considered as an avatara. So bodhisattva and all those things, they are different stages that can be reached. That's all. Shall we continue? Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri